Hare Krishna. Once again, a hearty welcome to all the participants. Am I audible enough at the back? You are able to hear me? Yeah. So, after a long time, I have taken up this particular topic. Although, as it was mentioned, that topics like this nowadays in the 21st century, especially, are being very much discussed and becoming very hot topics, as they say. How to handle relationships. Talking about this word relationship, I'm reminded of the word ship, jahaz. So now, a ship, maybe having a huge tonnage, and maybe a battleship or any other ship, and looks very magnificent, looks very elegant. Just, you see a picture of a huge ship, you just, feel some kind of a mammoth feeling within you when you see a ship. But imagine a ship which looks very good when it is docked, when it is parked at the harbor. क्या कहते हैं उसको? बंदरगाह. बंदरगाह पर जहाज बहुत सुंदर तरीके से पार्क किया गया. Looks very beautiful, looks very good. You can see very closely all the intricate features of that ship. Is that ship meant to be docked at the harbor all the time? What is the test of a powerful ship? The test of a powerful ship is how that ship can withstand the storms of the sea, the upheavals, the turbulence of the ocean. How that ship can withstand that. That is how a ship is supposed to be glorified. So similarly, when we talk of this ship, which we'll be discussing from today onwards and tomorrow then, relationship. So that ship which is supposed to withstand all the onslaughts of the ocean, and herein this ship, if we want this ship to sail across the material ocean, and especially in the 21st century when you experience that this ocean is so full of turbulence, and practically every day, around the corner, there are huge tidal waves, sometimes tsunamis in our lives, in relationships. How much can we withstand? How much can we handle it? That's the topic at hand. How to handle them. And especially we human beings, we are supposed to be social animals. What do you mean by social animals? That we live in a society wherein we are sentient beings. We have emotions, we have sentiments, and this is what is required in a relationship. Emotions, sentiments, etc., etc. Now, how many of you have experienced handling a cake box with cake inside? And you're supposed to take it somewhere. Maybe you're surprising your friend on that friend's birthday, so you're taking a nice cake, cream cake with a lot of icing and all those decorations on top with the icing, the name written and everything, and it's in a cake box, and you are supposed to travel with that cake at a distance before you reach your friend's place. How will you handle that cake box? With utter care. Handling that cake box with that utter care is like handling relationships. Our life is like that cake box, and whoever we get related to, whether we are born in a certain family with the siblings as we raise, or then having spouses when one gets married, And then, the immediate family, the extended family, and especially in India. If you look into the family tree, it's mind-boggling. Like when I travel abroad, nowadays the families are breaking into like the nuclear family and atomic, subatomic families, and nowadays it's only protons and neutrons hovering around somewhere in the concrete jungles where they live. Forget about the nuclear families also breaking apart. Simply protons and neutrons here and there. So, but in India still, you have the family structure, and the relations are also that, mere sadhu ke bhai ke devar ke sasur ki sali. Wow, give me a glass of water first. Who is that? Now the relation, this is what? And this is something which is very healthy for us, because we get to experience all different mindsets, all different psychologies when we grow in a family like that, or in a society like that. When we are related, when we are having not just relationship based on birth where I am born, but relationships which are meaningful and relationships I am responsible for. That's the key word. Relationships I am responsible for. Now, we took the example of a cake box. Let's take another example. A suitcase. Many times in my travel, I travel light. I just have one hand baggage. That's it. Nothing check-in, nothing like that. But sometimes, if I have to travel, for a long duration, and I have to carry some of my extra clothes, or when I see other passengers traveling with a big suitcase. All of us, we have experienced traveling with our suitcases, packed suitcases, going on a holiday or going in somewhere else for at least a month, few weeks. Now, what's the most important aspect of a suitcase, if I may ask you? You can clear these. What's the most important aspect of a suitcase? Well, of course, it should be spacious so that you can put your stuff inside. Now, how many of us, when we are buying a suitcase, the first thing we focus upon is the handle? We focus upon how big is the suitcase, how good looking it is, and the rollers are there, and all of that we focus upon. Now, handle of a suitcase, it's maybe a small piece somewhere attached on the top of the suitcase. But imagine a scenario, a loaded suitcase and the handle conks off. You're at the airport, and maybe if you're traveling business class, everyone is looking up to you. कुछ होगा शायद, business class जा रहा है. सबसे पहले तो एयरप्लेन में जा रहा है, वो भी बिजनेस क्लास जा रहा है, और यहाँ पे सूटकेस का हैंडल टूट गया. Now, that little part which we might have ignored all the while since the time we bought that suitcase becomes the most important. Herein, my dear friends, the point which I am trying to make is, just like the handle of the suitcase is equally important to the looks of the suitcase, the sturdiness of that handle is so very important than against the looks of the suitcase. Even if the suitcase is not so good looking, but if you want the utility of the suitcase, you need the handle to be sturdy, to be tough. And that's what, herein, what we are trying to come home with the point is how to handle that suitcase of our life which is filled with so many relationships. Imagine that suitcase of our life, just like a suitcase, you have your shaving kit, you have your nightwear, you have your office wear, you have your casual wear, everything, and so many other stuff you might have put in your suitcase, it's like the different aspects of our social life. And then comes when you close the suitcase and you are about to travel with that suitcase, your focus comes on the handle. How to handle the suitcase properly. So, herein, to begin with, at the very outset, a very beautiful quote. Let's read. Alone I can hum. Just like people sometimes, गुनगुनाते हैं अकेले, especially नहाते समय. So, alone I can hum. गुनगुना सकता हूँ मैं. But together, if I have someone else also, then we can talk. Alone I can enjoy, but together we can celebrate. Alone I can smile, but together we can laugh. That's the beauty of human relations. We are nothing without each other. Now, I like to give these household examples because most of you over here are householders, family people. So household examples always, they, क्या बोलते हैं उसको, वो घर कर जाते हैं. झाड़ू. Let's take the third example. झाड़ू का example लेते हैं. दो प्रकार की झाड़ू हैं, मैंने बचपन में भी देखी, हमारे घर पर भी. एक होती है सीख की झाड़ू, है ना, वो जब गीला फर्श साफ करना होता है, सीख की झाड़ू. So that broomstick, all of us we have experienced, at least seeing it. हो सकता है बहुतों ने यूज नहीं किया होगा, देखा तो होगा, कोई घर पर काम करने वाली बाई या और कोई वो यूज कर रहे हैं. हाँ, तो सीख की झाड़ू. Now, how is it made? You have all those sticks and they are all tied together. That's it. It's not rocket science. Simple. That's how the jhadus are made. हम खुद भी बना सकते हैं. But if you closely observe, something which this broomstick can teach us as far as the relationship is concerned. Cake box, suitcase, broomstick. What broomstick can teach us? When all those sticks are together, when they are together, they can clean a dirty place. जब वो सारे जो सीख हैं उस झाड़ू के, वो एक साथ जुड़े रहते हैं तो वो कचरा साफ कर सकते हैं. एंड यू अनटाई, वो कचरा बन जाते हैं. वही जो कचरा साफ कर सकते थे अब कचरा कहलाते हैं. सो टुगेदर वी कैन क्लीन द सोसाइटी with our good example, exemplary relationships. But disunited, we human beings, we become trash on this planet Earth. One eminent ecologist, Mr. E.O. Wilson, a graduate from Harvard, this Mr. Wilson, he came up with a research on ecology. After 30 years of his study on ecology, his research was, and conclusion of his research was, that if you wipe out all the human beings from the surface of this planet Earth, imagine no human beings. Sometimes Hollywood, they make such kind of movies also. Only one human being is left on the planet and he's somehow surviving. Imagine no human being. According to Mr. Wilson, who is he? An ecologist from Harvard. He is saying planet Earth will benefit immensely. Ecologically, all the rainforests which has been destroyed will be regenerated, the global warming will be repaired, the pollution which has been created by us will all be gone when there will not be a single human being on this planet Earth. Which means, according to him, ecologically, we are the most unwanted species. As against that, he says, any other species, even an ant, if you take the ant species, if they are wiped out from the surface of this planet Earth, there will be heavy ecological imbalance. That's how ecologically they are more needed. So, that's another point. It's just a side point. But herein, when we are talking of we human beings coming together, togetherness, just like herein we are together on a journey, this 2-day journey of trying to know what to do when we go back home with our established relationships. A question once I had asked to a group. This was some time ago. I was giving a talk on a different topic, and I asked this question. A similar question I may ask this August assembly. How many of you are parents? Raise your hands. Okay. Now, if I ask this question, did you create your offsprings? Might sound a very rhetorical question. What? First you ask, how many are parents? And then you ask this question, that did you create your offsprings? Obviously yes. But I want to flip this logic. Flip it around. And I want to ask that your offsprings, whether son or daughter, has created you also. How do you understand that? If you have become a father or a mother to someone, to give you fatherhood and motherhood, the child had to come. So who gave you fatherhood and motherhood? Your child. So actually the identity of being a father and mother was created by your offspring. Just like if you say, which is very correct, you created your offspring, but your offsprings created the fatherhood in you, created the motherhood in you. Which means, the point over here is that how much we are dependent. A brother is a brother to someone. If there is, जिसको कहते हैं ना सहोदर हिंदी में, कि एक ही उदर से जब जो दो शिशु पैदा होते हैं तो उनको क्या कहा जाता है? सहोदर. So herein, when we are talking of, how relationships, they are not just independent, definitely not just dependent, but interdependent. That's the word. Relationships are interdependent. So therefore, herein, we are all born alone. Yes. Even if you are born along with your twin brother or sister, you are separately born, you have your own individuality, you have your brother, your siblings, their individuality. So herein, I versus we. A very interesting quote again to ponder upon. When I is replaced by we, even illness is replaced by wellness. Now, when we are talking of togetherness, now, although we may have like 5,327 Facebook friends, and that's just Facebook, the question is, how much do we face them? Face to face. That's another question. So you may have more than 5,000 Facebook friends, then you have, so many other Instagram, Twitter, and WhatsApp, and what not, all of that. But the question is, how much are we actually getting fulfilled within our heart when it comes to interacting with fellow human beings? Why I am saying this? This was some 8 years ago. I was visiting Greece. And there I was giving seminar to some corporates. It was a different topic. But then after the seminar, there was a person, a gentleman from Austria. And he came up to me and he said he confessed something in private, in confidence to me, that a year ago, he had become so lonely in his life. Now mind this. This is one of the dreaded diseases nowadays. More than any of the terminal diseases, the disease of being lonely. Loneliness. There are two things. One is, one wants to remain alone. Just like sometimes people, they want to remain in solitude after all the chaos and mayhem living in a city like Mumbai or any of the metropolis. Maybe Nasik also is becoming somewhat like that. But there is something called loneliness. That's different. So this guy, he was so lonely that he was frustrated with human beings. I don't even have a single human being to interact with. And because of his frustration, he was going crazy. Psycho, as they say. He was becoming psychotic. So what he did, what he decided to do, he bought some guns. And this is not some movie. This is reality. He bought some guns. It's very easily available. You can do that over there in those countries. So he bought loaded guns. He loaded, the boot of his car, the dicky. And he had planned to go into, a busy market area where many human beings are there on a weekend. And he had decided to go on a killing spree. Randomly just killing human beings because he was frustrated. There is no human being to interact with. So he opened the boot. He was there, he parked his car, he opened the boot. He was about to take out all the guns, the loaded guns which he had put. At that point of time, a puppy dog from somewhere came and started to lick his boot. Now in India, puppy dogs coming from anywhere, stray dogs, it's very common. But in those countries, dogs are owned by people always. You won't find stray dogs like here and there. Somewhere a puppy dog comes and starts, so he's looking at that puppy dog. And there is some melting of the heart taking place. And he's waiting until the puppy dog finishes. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, the dog kept on licking. In 10 minutes, he got a feeling. And he was telling me with teary eyes, I had the feeling in 10 minutes, there is love in this world. I just have to look for it. I am not looking for it enough. And that puppy dog, without speaking a word, changed the paradigm of this man. And here was this man, he put back the guns, he gave away the guns, and he changed the ideology of his life. The point over here is that how much we need each other in a relationship. According to WHO, the World Health Organization, this is startling, appalling. This statistics is startling, my dear friends. The statistics says every year 1 million people commit suicides. You know how much that is? 10 lakhs. 1 million means 10 lakh people committing suicides every year. Which means if you do the math, every 40 seconds someone is committing suicide on this planet. We began this seminar maybe 15-20 minutes ago. Calculate how many people by this time might have committed suicide, killed themselves. And this figure of 1 million, this figure of 1 million is, you put on one hand people who are dying in road accidents, people who are dying in terrorist activities, people who are dying out of diseases, terminal diseases, all of those people put together are less than this statistics of people who are killing themselves. And why? You don't find any other species committing suicide. You don't find dogs, they are so depressed and frustrated that nobody is paying attention to them here, especially in Nasik. We keep barking, we keep, drawing people's attention, nobody pays attention. I am too depressed, I want to commit suicide. And how many cases of human beings, because of loneliness, because of depression, because of stress, anxiety, panic attacks, you name it, phobias, killing themselves. So herein, when we are talking of wellness, that word "we" is there in it. It's a very interesting diagram. Kindly pay attention to it. I hope you are able to see it clearly. This is the relationship Zen. Now, you find always that we are surrounded by these interactions. People you like, people who like you, people you don't like, people who don't like you. 4 categories, okay? And if you see the circles where they meet, the area, it appears to be so minuscule, so small. If you just see people you like, that circle, and the circle people who like you, and where these 2 circles join, you see in the green color, you enjoy that relationship definitely. Nothing to say about that. It's a no-brainer. Definitely you enjoy that relationship. But then, people who you like and people you don't like, that thing, it becomes a little difficult. Then you have to simply respect, Like bosses in offices, or maybe bosses at home also. I saw one cartoon. A man was standing in front of a house and he was saying, "I am the master of this house and I have my wife's permission to say so." People who don't like you, people you don't like, definitely that's something which we keep avoiding. People you like, people who don't like you, we try to learn the art of acceptance. So like for example, a joint family. Nowadays, like I said, that most of the joint families are becoming disjointed. The nuclear family becoming into protons and neutrons. But, a joint family, or even if a family of, say, husband, wife and 2 kids, even if you take the bare minimum of that, you will find that nowadays, how everyone is having a different flavor. Just like the 4 circles. So I give the example. We in Maharashtra here, we can relate to this example of poha. Now all of us, we have had poha in our life. Some of us, we also know how it's made. Okay? Now poha, if I make you go through the process of how it's made, very simple. So you have the tadka, you prepare the tadka. Okay? I'm comparing this recipe of poha with a family unit. Bear in mind that. Okay. So in poha you first make the tadka, you have the oil, and then when the tempering is ready enough, then you put the rai, the jeera, and then you see what do you find? As soon as in the hot oil you put that, there is sputtering. You find pat, that awaj that comes, which is perfect tadka is getting made. Now, all our housewives, they are all smiling here. So that's happening. Then you put some haldi, and then, some mirchi, some kadi patta, and then you put the poha, and then some salt, and some little sugar, and then peanuts, and then garnish it with some coriander leaves, like that. And you can have some more garnishing. If you want to make it a royal version of the poha, you can put so many things. You can put cashews, you can put raisins, so on and so forth. Now, in a family also you will find how the different ingredients in a poha, similarly you will find different flavors in a family. Some people in the family, they will be like the rai in the tadka. Pat, 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 pat. More sound at home. lot of sound. So they are the people at home, they'll be with the sound box. Always. As soon as they enter the house, tadka chalu. Rai, pat 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 pat, awaj. So some people in the house, they are like that. Rai jeere ki tarah. Some people, they are like mirchi. Sometimes they don't even speak. But once they touch you, you get to know, mirchi gayi andar. So some people are like, in the family unit, some people are like mirchi. Some people are like haldi. They'll simply spread nice color. Unka kaam kya hai? They'll be the colorful ones in the family, in the good books of everyone, like that. Some, they are like the dhania patta, they are the garnishing. So at the end, everything is done, then they will entry. Unka entry, baad mein hota hai. Some are like little sugar, lemon and all of that. And all of that put together, you get a family. You finally get a poha. And my dear friends, in a poha, just like chili and kadi patta is important equally as the poha, the main ingredient is important. Everyone is playing their respective roles. So what we are trying to understand over here, that, when you have a unit, when we are talking of relationship in a family or in a society, there is a unit. So which means, even though we may be not accepting, we may not like, we may not be in terms, we may agree to disagree, and all these things will be happening in a family. It's like a unit, just like our body. Some of us, we may not like certain limb of our body. Some of us, we may not like the way we smile. We may not like our nose. We may not like the color of our skin. We may not like this. But what to do? क्या करेंगे? नाक पसंद नहीं तो काट तो नहीं देंगे. अगर स्किन का कलर पसंद नहीं है, ठीक है, लगा लेंगे, कोई क्रीम लगा लेंगे, साबुन लगा लेंगे, पार्लर में जा लेंगे, लेकिन फिर भी वो स्किन के साथ तो जीना ही है. Understood? Similarly, in a family, like a wife, after going to the beauty parlor, she's asking the husband, tell me, what age do I look like? What would be my age? So he said, looking at your skin, looks like you are just 20 years old. Really? Yeah. Looking at, your hair, the long flowing cascading hair, looks like you are just 18 years old. Really? And looking at your figure, impeccable, look like you are only 19 years old. So she was getting very much encouraged. So finally she asked, but then what's my age? He said, just add up. So when we are talking of a unit, whether it is our own body, some parts of our body, we may hate our own body parts. And some body parts we may love, we may cherish. चाहे जो भी हो जाए, मेरे जैसी स्माइल पूरे खानदान में किसी की नहीं है. हाँ? बाकी सब बेड़ा गर्क होगा मेरा, लेकिन स्माइल मेरे जैसी नहीं किसी. Like that. I am very photogenic, something like that. But the other things we tolerate. So herein, to begin with, I am going to take you on a journey tonight and tomorrow evening. 11 jewels for healthy relationships. So don't worry. Tonight we are going to take half of it, because I was thinking this particular topic, you may have many questions, especially already you may have questions related just to the topic, but after the points which we will be discussing and which we are discussing, you may come up with more questions. So I am leaving room for question answers also. So at the end, I'll try to finish early tonight so that we can have some question answer session, and then the remaining part of the 11 jewels, I'm proposing that we may have half of it tonight, and then half of it, the remaining, tomorrow. So these are the 11 jewels. The first jewel, talent versus right attitude, expectations versus acceptance, appreciation versus flattery, frankness versus bluntness, sensitivity versus judgmentality. Now these are, over the period of years, so many decades, what I've experienced in counseling people and the problems which people come up with, especially when it comes to relationships. So that's what I have jotted down and put forth in front of us so that we can discuss on these very important kind of paradoxes and then try to resolve them in trying to be in a relationship. Furthermore, communicating versus connecting, expressing versus suppressing, testing versus trusting, understanding versus misunderstanding, being right versus getting it right, forgiving versus correcting. So, in a family unit, you'll find that when you set up a household, we take care of so many things like, the sofa set in the living room. Okay? The sofa set in the living room should be the best. The kitchen set in the kitchen should be the best. The dining set, the kitchen set, the sofa set. But the most important is the mindset. You may have the best sofa set, you may have the best dinner kitchen set or the TV set, you may have best of all of these, but if the mind is not set properly, all of these sets will upset you both, whoever is there in the relationship. So herein, I've called them jewels because this is the real ornamentation in a relationship. You may go to a party, a social function decked up with the most costly jewels and different ornaments. But if two people who are going in the party are fighting like cats and dogs just before the party and putting up a pretense in front of others that we are the most happiest of all couples, just so that to maintain that image, all of that jewelry on the body, all that being decked up on the body will be of no use as far as the inner satisfaction is concerned. So therefore, we have picked up these 11 jewels for healthy relationships. To begin with the first one, talent versus right attitude. Now, according to the statistics, until we reach 30 years of our age, we are educated, we have hopefully settled ourselves as far as the careers are concerned. By 30 years, we are very good at solving problems when it comes to our, livelihood, when it comes to our subsistence, basic necessities. We are very well talented. Nowadays you find people, by the time they are 20, 24, 25, they are having like row of degrees already, so many courses and also so talented. I call it the story of pieces of paper sometimes. You know what is the story of pieces of paper? From our childhood, we are told that the goal until you graduate is that big piece of paper, which you have to frame it and you have to put it on the wall where you are working, wherever. What is that big piece of paper? The certificate. The graduation certificate. That big piece of paper. So the title of this is Story of Pieces of Paper. For that big piece of paper, that poor child has to begin to study so many pieces of paper in the form of textbooks. And the size of the textbooks keeps increasing year by year. And so many pieces of paper. Why? Because every year there is a final exam, and in the final exam comes the question paper. Another piece of paper. For that question paper, the child has to go through so many pieces of paper all through the year. And what he has to do then? Another paper, answer paper. Whatever whole year he has studied from those pieces of paper, he has to reproduce on that answer paper, because the question paper has asked all those things. And finally, when he is graduated, gets that big piece of paper which is called the certificate. Why? So then he can get these pieces of paper. हाँ? फायदा क्या नहीं तो? These pieces of paper, the most important pieces of paper, इतना प्रेम गांधी जी से कभी नहीं हुआ. And then everything else. You are born, there is a piece of paper, your birth certificate. You know, people die, there is the death certificate. Unless you are certified that you are born, even though you are standing, you are alive, nobody is going to believe you are alive. You have to show the proof of your being born. बोला अरे मैं जिंदा खड़ा हूँ, सांस ले रहा हूँ, एक इंसान तुम्हारे सामने. I went to renew my passport here in Nasik, and I saw that every counter, you have to go through so many counters, every counter, nobody looked at me, everyone was looking at the documents. ये वो है, भैया मैं खड़ा हूँ, मुझे भी देख लो, मेरा पासपोर्ट निकलवा रहा हूँ. नहीं, your existence is proved on the pieces of paper you have brought. If the pieces of paper are intact, you are a person alive existing. If your pieces of paper are not up to date, we don't believe whether you exist on this planet or not. And then after death also, the will, piece of paper. क्या है वो? वसीयत. एक इंग्लिश का proverb है ना, where there is a will, there are many relatives. So, now when it comes to talent, you know why I am using this particular, the first jewel, talent versus right attitude? Because one of my friends, he was telling me that a couple in Bombay, they approached him. And the couple, like those remarkable combination. The husband, he is a CEO of a company. He is an IIT graduate. Wife is a CEO of another company. And she has done, MBA, IIM, and she's like, another a genius in her field. Both of them genius. And the wife, she had a complaint. She said, my husband, he is so much into his engineering consciousness. Being a graduate from IIT, he's so much into his engineering consciousness that in our relationship also, he has maintained an Excel sheet. Our married relationship is like an Excel sheet. So if I do something, if I, gift him something, it's entered in the Excel sheet. On this date, at this time, this was the cost of the gift. Equally, I have to also, equivalent to that particular gift, I have to also give it back. If I do something for his parents, Excel sheet, entry. Again, he has to do. Like what kind of relationship is this? Yes, on paper, on the Excel sheet, everything is very nicely calculated and with all the facts and figures are there. But what about the emotions? So talent is something which can fetch you your livelihood. But talent will not give you a life. When we are talking of life, we are talking of what? We are talking of human relationships. In Australian Army, they have the special forces. Every army has special forces, but especially we were taught that in Australian Army, when they are recruiting for the special forces, one of the major criterions which they have is, they ask, have you ever failed in your life, in any exam, in any test, or anything which you appeared, any course, anything like that? And if some people, they say that, no, we have never failed, those people are rejected, those people are not inducted into the special forces. And you know why? Because according to them, if you have never failed, if you think you are so talented that you have never failed in your exam, definitely in the special forces you will encounter some kind of failure or challenge. How will you handle it if you have never handled failure in your life? So I really loved this attitude, this approach towards recruiting. What to speak of in a relationship? Herein we are talking of having the right attitude. So herein if you see, talent, I have put it in a smaller font. Why? Because yes, it is required, for our subsistence, for our livelihood. But if you want success in your relationship, it's the right attitude. But more than that also, the biggest font over here you find is of character. Now, in my experience, when I have counseled couples who are about to divorce, and it's been so many years now, I have seen, what to speak of, abroad, even in India, divorces takes place primarily two reasons. One is wrong kind of behavior between the two people. And the first is wrong kind of behavior, and the second is character. When there is character issues, when spouses are cheating on each other. So these are the two major reasons for divorces, which means it has nothing to do with talent. It has nothing to do with your talent. Because none of the universities where people are becoming so talented is teaching what should be your behavior at home. What should be your credibility as far as your character is concerned. We have the example of Lord Ram from Ramayana. Lord Ram, he was a person who was having impeccable character. And when Dasharath announced that I want Ram to be coronated as the next king, the entire Ayodhya was in an upsurge of joy. And they were congratulating Dasharath Maharaj for that decision which he made. And he was surprised. He asked that, why do you want Lord Ram so soon to become the king? And they said that Lord Ram, he is a person, we can trust him blindly. When he comes to our home, and if there is a joyous occasion at home, he is more joyful than we are. If there is a tragedy at our home, he cries more, he is more in sorrow than we are. And this is just one aspect. So when Maharaj Dasharath asked this question that why do you want him to become the next king? Obviously, somebody might look into the talents, that what are his talents, what are his credentials, whether he is qualified to become the king. No, the entire Ayodhya, unanimously they said, we want Ram to be our next king because of his character. Of course he was talented also. He was talented and he was equipped to become the king as a Kshatriya. But they were focusing on what stole their heart was the character of Lord Ram. So herein, when we are talking of the first jewel, talent versus right attitude, it goes further into that attitude should blossom into the impeccable character of a person who is there in that relationship. Okay, a very interesting question may be in front of you. In between there is the word verses. What do you think? Which is better? Love marriage is better or arranged marriage is better? Okay, how many of you are of the opinion love marriage is better? Raise hands. शर्माइए मत, कोई बुरा अब मैंने भी हाथ ऊपर किया वैसे मत मैं पूछ रहा हूँ. Okay, why do you feel that love marriage is better than arranged marriage? You know the person. So unknown devil is better than unknown devil. I heard somewhere. Okay, so this is a very valid point. You know that person. Okay. Yes, you had raised your hand. We'll then take the arranged marriage once. Okay. You want to say something about that? Huh? Force. Arranged marriage is forced. You can choose. Okay, you can choose. So all the rest of you who didn't raise your hands are in the favor of arranged. Maybe because you are arranged in that you are into love. Okay. You are not experienced with love marriage. Okay, according to me, this question itself is not a correct question. It was kind of a test. Because if I say love marriage against arranged marriage, I am trying to say that there is no love in arranged marriage. Marriage means there has to be love. मिर्जा गालिब को किसी ने पूछा, मोहब्बत शादी से पहले करनी चाहिए या शादी के बाद करनी चाहिए? मिर्जा गालिब से किसी ने पूछा, मोहब्बत शादी से पहले करनी चाहिए या शादी के बाद करनी चाहिए? गालिब साहब ने कहा, जब भी करो बीवी को नहीं पता चलना चाहिए. In an interview, one man was asked, so who is more lovable in a man's life? His wife or his sister? A very loaded question. Who is more lovable in a man's life? His wife or his sister? Very intelligently he said, wife's sister. कहा जाता है ना, एक हिंदी के एग्जाम में पूछा गया है कि लिखो, दुख हर समय रहता है, खुशी आती जाती रहती है. इसका उदाहरण दीजिए. तो उसने कहा कि जो मेरी साली है वो आती जाती रहती है, बाकी आप समझ जाओ. So they say love at first sight, but then divorce at the first fight also. Love at first sight. We are not against that. We are not against love at first sight. But the most important question is, how much love remains after subsequent sights? How much love remains? The test of a ship. Remember? The test of the relationship is not what happened, what butterflies were flying, what all palaces are being built when there was the first sight, but subsequent sights. So therefore, when we are talking of talent versus right attitude, how to handle, talent is God-given. What we should do, how we should handle that talent, be grateful. Fame is world given. The world will give you fame. Jitna shohrat, yash, ityadi, dunya de. What you should be doing? What attitude you should have? Be thankful. False ego, abhiman, ahankar jo hai, that is self-given. Be careful. But when it comes to right attitude, it is earned. Right attitude is earned. Therefore, use it timely. At this point of time, I want to perform an exercise. So I need 2 volunteers. Can 2 people volunteer? Don't worry. Yeah, please. Yes, please come. So, what's your good name?
Shrikant.
Shrikant ji. So you have your partner coming. Now the exercise is that you have to blindfold him. You know what blindfolding is? Huh? आँखों पे पट्टी बांधनी है इनके. And there will be an object which will be shown to him. Where is the object? Okay, so we have this wonderful doll, a devotee looking doll. So this doll will be kept somewhere in this room after you are blindfolded. And your friend, he has to give you directions. So he is your partner. So you have to be related to him in a relationship for another 5-7 minutes. And the condition is that you have only 2 minutes and you can give only 5 instructions. In 5 instructions in 2 minutes, you have to make sure your friend Shrikanji, what's your name? Bharatji. So Bharatji, you have to make sure that your friend should reach this doll. Clear? With instructions? Ready? Okay. So you will be blindfolded now. No cheating. You can keep it wherever you want. Wow, you are quite confident. Okay, so turn him around. So it's 8:52 and your time starts now. 2 minutes, only 5 instructions.
Your left.
1 instruction is over.
Move quickly. Hello, sorry. To your right, straight now. Hello, straight. Straight, more straight. You move.
3 instructions.
Yes. Left, your left.
4 instructions over.
Move straight.
5 instructions over. Okay. Good one. So, this is the first time I am seeing that in this exercise, he was quite good at giving instructions, and more than that, he was quite good at receiving the instructions. So now, I have my friend here, his name is Shivang, and you can blindfold him. We both are going to play the same game. So same instructions for me also. 2 minutes. Okay, so I'll make it 1 minute. Make it more challenging. कोई थोड़ा फौजी बैकग्राउंड है. घुमाओ इनको जहाँ दूर ले जाना चाहिए ले जाओ. Okay, Shivang, ready? So there is no match fixing over here, by the way. So don't worry. So the conditions were the instructions which was given, the rules, in fact, I would use that word. The rules were 2 minutes, I am having 1 minute for myself, and 5 instructions, or I'll take 3 instructions only. So the first instruction I give to Shivang, take off your blindfold. It's behind the donation box. Sorry. So please have a seat. See, the point was, nobody was told that you can't give that instruction. What was the rule? You can give any instruction. And the instruction could begin with, remove the blindfold. So the point over here is, many times, herein, we had to use something outside our talent. What is that? A right attitude, which means the blindfold is removing sometimes the talent which we have. When we come home, we have to remove the blindfold of the talent and life will be so easy. As against trying to figure out that doll using our talents. All those instructions, what was the instructions? All the talents used. So therefore, if a brain surgeon comes home and the wife is very angry, and if the brain surgeon says, let me scan your brain first. Let me find out where exactly is the anger coming up from. What will happen? He will be having difficulty in his next brain surgery when he goes. So, at home, when we are talking of relationships, why complicate life? Just remove the blindfold and the next instruction. It is so quick. So therefore, herein we come from this first jewel. Talents are required. Therefore it is said that talents can bring you to the bridge of success. Right attitude can help you cross that bridge, and character will keep you on the other side of the bridge where it is supposed to be. So this is the sequence which we should have in our life: talent, attitude and character. With that we come to the second jewel, which is expectations versus acceptance. I'll tell you that every decade in human society, the phobias which we have, you know what phobias means? Fears, different kinds of fear. Like some people, they are fearful of water. Some people, they are fearful of great heights. You know, some people, they are fearful of closed places, like claustrophobia, like that. So different phobias are there, but every decade phobias keep adding. And according to the latest survey, 2 phobias have been included. One phobia is the phobia of terrorists. Fear of terrorists, which was not existing few decades ago. People, they didn't have this phobia. It was not there in the list of phobias. So this is one phobia which has been included. Fear of terrorists. And the other fear which has been included of lately, recently, is the fear of rejection. The fear of rejection. It's a major epidemic, psychological epidemic. People, they are so fearful of being rejected. Why? How it all begins? Expectations. Expectations from others and expectations from oneself. So, when we are talking of expectations from others, if we are simply living in that consciousness that my expectation should be fulfilled by this people, other than me, mostly we'll land up in what? Disappointment and frustration. But when expectations are from oneself, then it leads us to become more responsible. What are my expectations from my own self? How the battle is between you and you. You and yourself. And how much you can win over. Since past a couple of our Gita classes on Wednesdays, I have been discussing on the same topic. Winning our inner battles. Arjun was, not that he was not competent to win the war. Physically, outside, he was the same Arjun who had single-handedly defeated this entire army, the Kuru Sena. But he was not able to lift his Gandiva because from inside, he had lost the war from himself. So therefore, when we talk of expectations, like, what is this person doing for me? What is that person doing for me? What is the government doing for me? What is the society? What is the municipality doing for me? What is the university doing for me? What is the boss? And all of this, what all they doing for me, me. In a household, the wife, she calls the husband and she says, ये सुनो, ये पड़ोसी हर समय घूरता रहता है, पर्दे लगवा लो अपने खिड़कियों पे. तो पति ने कहा, एक बार उसको ध्यान से देख लेने दो, वो खुद पर्दे लगवा लेगा. So, herein we come to the point when we talk of expectations and things which happens in our life unexpectedly. What do I mean by that? Getting a punch when you are expecting a pat. Now, if you are in a relationship and you are expecting that the other person should be behaving according to my terms, according to my expectations, why they are not getting fulfilled, and then you get the opposite of your expectations, it is like you are, playing chess. You are not expecting a punch. While playing chess, it's a very peaceful game as far as the physical endeavor is concerned. It's all the brain game. But in boxing, if you have entered a boxing ring, what are you expecting? Boxing means you are expecting a punch. So many times in life, when we are not expecting a punch, especially from the person from whom we are expecting a pat. Pat means, जैसे एक बार एक पिताजी अपने 14 साल के लड़के को मार रहे हैं, तो पड़ोसी पूछ रहे हैं कि अरे क्यों मार रहे हो इसको इतना, क्यों नहीं मारूं, कल 10वीं का रिजल्ट लग रहा है इसका. तो बोले अभी तो आया नहीं ना, मेरा भी बेटा 10वीं में इसी के साथ है, कल है ना रिजल्ट, मैं कल घर पर नहीं हूं. What a confidence. The point is, when we are encountering punches after punches instead of a pat, that is the time we feel that we are a failure. And that is the time when our entire psychological matrix goes on a toss. And that is the point we have to learn what? The art of acceptance. What do you mean by art of acceptance? Accepting people for what they are. Now, in a relationship, this is one of the most difficult things to do. Accepting people, what's the other word? Expecting. We land up into which area? Expecting. We have to just change that word into accepting. If you really want to be emotionally tranquil, as against emotionally in a turmoil, if you want to be emotionally tranquil, just learn the art of acceptance, my dear friends. Few examples I'll give you. When things don't go your way, when you are expecting that things should go your way, when things don't go your way, just like right now, we were not expecting. Now what we have to do? Art of acceptance. We are in India. So, when things don't go your way, acceptance of it will help you become tolerant. Non-acceptance of that will make you angry. Remember? when things do not go your way, and it will happen so many times, practically every day, whether you are at office, whether you are at home, whether you are with your friends, wherever you are, things not going your way, non-acceptance will give rise to anger, acceptance will give rise to tolerance. Your tolerant muscles will grow. Uncertainties. In our life, when something is uncertain, non-acceptance of uncertainties in our life will give rise to fear. We are fearful of what? When things are uncertain. But you look into adventure sports. People, when they go on white water river rafting, like we were taken on paratrooping, high up in the sky, and then the belly of the airplane is open and you are thrown from there. You have to open your parachute at a certain time. So adventure sports means you are accepting the uncertainty. When you accept the uncertainty, that turns into adventure. When you non-accept the uncertainty, that turns into fear. When somebody has more than what you have, acceptance of that will give rise to inspiration. I don't know how to sing, but if I see someone who is a better singer, I may be knowing a little bit of singing, but if I see someone who is a better singer than me, I don't have those qualities of singing or maybe painting or maybe playing a sport or speaking, whatever. If someone else has better than me, if I accept it, if I learn the art of acceptance, then that person will become an inspiration for me. If I am non-accepting it, in non-acceptance, I will have jealousy for that person. It's just a matter of acceptance and non-acceptance. When someone hurts me, non-acceptance will give rise to hatred. Acceptance will give rise to, I will forgive that person. So these are few examples of day-to-day examples which we experience in a relationship. Someone is doing better than us, someone is hurting us, or maybe something uncertain happening in our life. All of these examples, things not going our way, acceptance will give rise to emotional tranquility. Non-acceptance will give rise to emotional turbulence, upheavals. With that, we come to the third jewel. Appreciation versus flattery. Everyone knows what flattery means? Flattery means chaplusi. Yeah, buttering. That's the desi word. Maska marna. That's called flattery. So now you see that so many times socially we are very good at speaking the goody stuff. अरे आप इतने समय बाद आ रहे हैं, कितना समय हो गया, आपको कितना मिस किया. मुंह से क्या बोल रहे हैं? कितने टाइम बाद आ रहे हैं, कितना मिस किया आपको. बट अंदर से कुछ और चल रहा है. अभी आना था. हाँ? अरे सारा जो शाम बर्बाद हो गया. अभी बैठो इनके साथ. ये हो. सो क्या होता है? सो ऊपरी तौर पर हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं? हम लोग बोल रहे हैं कुछ और अंदर से कुछ और चल रहा है. I'll tell you, real appreciation is so rare nowadays. Appreciation from the heart is so rare nowadays. Because everything is a pretense. That's what sells. You are very good at presenting with your words, with your idioms, with your phrases, with your metaphors and similes. Wow. But then, if it is simply coming from the lips, if it's not coming from the heart, it will simply hit the eardrums. It will not reach the heart of the other person also. And that's what the other person will also give back. Pratidhwani jisko bolte hain. What you shout at, the echo will come back to you. And the example which I once encountered, a boy, 20-year-old son, on his mom's birthday, on his mom's 61st birthday, he was asked, speak something about your mom. This boy, he had no words. It was not, in that sense that I'm speechless that my mom is so glorious. क्या बोलूं? माँ है मेरी. अरे तुम्हें पैदा किया, तुम्हें पाला पोसा, 20 साल का इतना बड़ा तुमको काबिल बनाया, तुम्हारे पास 2 शब्द नहीं अपने माँ के गुणगान करने के. This person had nothing how to appreciate. And that same, he was asked, write a love letter. 6 पेज का लव लेटर लिख दिया किसी को जिसको 1 साल पहले जाना होगा उसको. So what happens is, what we focus upon from the heart, that will come out when it comes to appreciation. So the difference between appreciation and flattery, appreciation is love driven, flattery is what? Agenda driven. In the Bhagavad Gita, first chapter, Duryodhan, when all the armies are arrayed in front of each other, the Pandava and the Kuru Sena, Duryodhan gets down from the chariot and he is glorifying. He is glorifying even the Pandava Sena, he is glorifying his own Kuru Sena, he is glorifying Dronacharya, Bhishma. But that glorification, that appreciation was not from the heart, it was agenda driven. I have to win the war. Therefore I need Bhishma, I need Dronacharya, I need Kripacharya, I need all of them. So therefore glorify them, flatter them. So herein, when we are talking of appreciation, so how appreciation it should be done? First of all, it should be consistent. It should not be agenda driven. Means elections आ रहे हैं तो उस समय अपने appreciations चालू करो, या फिर इंक्रीमेंट होने वाला है, प्रमोशन होने वाला है, या फिर एनिवर्सरी आ रही है, जो भी कुछ कुछ अच्छा खाने का मन कर रहा है तो अप्रिशिएट कर दो. It should be consistently done even during fasting days. It should be constructively done and it should be consciously done. नहीं तो क्या होता है, जैसे वो शादी से पहले के कुछ शब्द होते हैं और फिर शादी के बाद के शब्द होते हैं, उसमें होता है क्या है, खाली ग्रामर इधर उधर बदल जाता है. Only the words change here and there, the grammar little bit changes. शादी से पहले क्या है, जानू तेरे बिना मैं नहीं, मेरे बिना तू नहीं. ये शुरू के शादी से पहले के लाइनें हैं. फिर थोड़ा ग्रामर बदल जाता है, शादी हो गई, 5 साल हो गए, पहले गुलाब था हाथ में ये बोलते हुए, जानू तेरे बिना मैं नहीं, मेरे बिना तू नहीं. अब 5 साल हो गए, बेलन हाथ में है, आज या तो तू नहीं या मैं नहीं. The grammar has a bit changed and the tool has changed in the house. So herein, when we are talking of what is real appreciation, I'll give you an example. You go to a restaurant, the person is welcoming you as if the entire crew was waiting for you. Huh? The person at the door, the watchman, he opens the door with a smile. Then the usherer, the waiter, there are so many of them. The one with the white dress, one with the black coat, and they all come. आप क्या नोश फरमाएंगे? Like that, they make you sit and then with a smile serving your favorites. And you remember at home your mother serving you dalia which you used to hate with a slap. खा इसको पूरा कर. Here is the waiter in the restaurant with a smile serving you paneer tikka, your favorite. Your mother serving you with a slap, the one which you dislike. Where is love? My question is, where is love? Any doubts? Is the waiter in love with you? Although externally the waiter is serving you your favorite with a smile. You go to that waiter's house, night 2 o'clock. After the restaurant is closed, the waiter is off duty, you go. मैं ही हूं, वो आया था पनीर टिक्का खाना है. कौन है भाई? How will he treat? His payroll hours are over. But the same mom, even if it is night 2 o'clock, will get up and serve you. So herein, I use the term, in real relationships, maturity means to see the smile behind the slap of the mother and the slap behind the smile of the waiter. That is real appreciation. Now, there was a study, a survey done. So this is the Wisconsin University in America. And they had a club of creative writers. So the men, the boys of that university who were wanting to become creative writers, so they decided, there were 15 of them, so they decided that what they will do, whatever they write, they are going to discuss on each other's writings. And the discussion will be that what are the mistakes? What are the mistakes which you have committed in your writing? So 15 of them, they did that, only pointing mistakes. And looking at them, the girls of that creative writing club, they also decided in that Wisconsin University that what we are going to do, we are also going to sit with each other and exchange our writings, but we are going to point out all the good things which we can see in each other's writings. And guess what? 10 years after they graduated from that university, what they found? They found that the boys, none of them became any sort of writer. Because the only thing they did was point faults. And the girls, they became, 4 of them became world-class writers, and the others, they were writers in their own area, very successful. In fact, the boys, they were called wranglers. They were called the Wranglers Club. And the girls, they called themselves as the agreeers. One who agrees. So the boys, they were so unsuccessful in their writing, in what to speak of creative writing, they were so unsuccessful that they were fearful of even writing any small little thing, because so much of negativity was being put in them when they were wanting to become creative writers. Another example is from the Solomon Islands. So this tribe from the Solomon Islands, over there, these islands are close to Australia, Solomon Islands. And over there are these huge big trees, and many times they need wood from these trees, and some of these trees are so thick, they don't have the tools, the axe to cut these trees. But they have come up with a very strange culture over there. What they do, such trees, they surround these trees and they curse, hurl abuses at these trees. And in short period of time, without using a single axe, a single tool, sharp weapon, whatever, the trees get uprooted from the roots, the tree, they fall down. What is the reason? Even a species like trees, they were discouraged. When they feel discouraged, what to speak of? Not appreciated, when they were discouraged with those abusive language, they left their roots. The same trees which could not be cut by any sharp axe fell on their own without a single cut because of this kind of discouragement. So we come to the fourth one, frankness versus bluntness. I don't know how many of you have experienced dealing with cats. Cat is such a species, if you rub the cat on the back, the cat feels very good. But the same cat you rub on the stomach will bite you like anything. So you should know where to rub when it comes to a cat. Similarly, there is a very thin line between frankness and bluntness. And what is that? When we talk of frankness, it brings trust and intimacy, whereas bluntness, it distances people forever. It's like a surgeon when performing a surgery on a patient, which is the last resort. Many times surgery is the last resort. But when the surgeon is performing the surgery, before the surgery, what does the surgeon do? Who comes in first before the surgeon comes in? The anesthetist. So the anesthesia is given. And then, like recently one of our devotees, he underwent open heart bypass surgery, which means this entire chest was cut open, the rib cage was cut open. Imagine, without anesthesia, if things like that are done on us, we can't even imagine. We would die out of just that thought of it. So like in a surgery, in an operation, anesthesia is given and then the surgery is performed. Similarly, in a relationship, if you want frankness in a relationship which is very healthy, yes, we should be frank with the other person. That's like the surgery. But it should be with the anesthesia. And sometimes, if it is only anesthesia, doctor anesthesia कर करके छोड़ रहा है सब पेशेंट्स को, ऑपरेशन ही नहीं कर रहा है. पेशेंट ने डॉक्टर को कहा, डॉक्टर देखिए सर्जरी ठीक से करना, क्योंकि दो शब्द हैं, सर्जन और विसर्जन. डॉक्टर ने पूछा मतलब सर्जरी ठीक हुई तो आप सर्जन, सर्जरी ठीक नहीं हुई तो मेरा विसर्जन. So, if the doctor is simply performing anesthesia and no surgery, what is the use? And what to speak of operating without anesthesia? So that is the difference between frankness and bluntness. In this term is used, never assume based on unclear facts. This English word assume is very interesting. If you break it, if you simply assume about the other person whom you are in relationship with, you make an ass of you and me. This happened in America. Two neighbors, they were living for a while. So one neighbor, he sends a text message to the other one that finally I have gathered the courage to confess that for the past 6 months I have been sharing your wife. Now imagine, he is reading this text of his neighbor, that for the past 6 months I have been sharing your wife, and especially when you were not at home, because I don't have one. So please, there was a guilt in my heart. I was not able to keep that with me. I wanted to, my conscience was not allowing, so therefore I wanted to finally confess. Please, if you can forgive me. He puts down the phone, gets his gun, goes to the neighbor who had texted him, shoots him down, comes back home, shows that text to his wife. What is this? And the wife reads the text. And she said, did you read it properly? What do you mean properly? The last line, he said, sorry for the typo error. It was Wi-Fi. I have been sharing your Wi-Fi for past 6 months, especially when you were not at home, because I don't have one. One typo error took someone's life. Why? Assume. Make an ass of you and me. तो इसलिए दोस्तों आपके सामने कुछ अनकहे सच छिपे हुए. एक सच छिपा होता है जब कोई किसी से कहता है, अरे ये तो मजाक ही था, बट उसके पीछे एक बहुत गहरा सच छिपा होता है, एक दर्द छिपा होता है जब कोई कहता है मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता इससे। एक्सटर्नली बोल रहा है, अंदर बहुत दर्द छिपा है। एक जरूरत छिपी होती है जब कोई कहता है मुझे अकेला छोड़ दो। एक रहस्य छिपा होता है जब कोई कहता है मुझे कुछ पता नहीं, सब पता होता है। और एक बातों का समंदर छिपा होता है जब कोई खामोश रहता है। सो हियरिन people are going through a lot emotionally, psychologically. People are going through a lot. Even your own kids, even your own spouse, they are going through a lot. Please don't assume and jump to conclusions. So frankness and bluntness. I'll give you an example of how frankness can turn into bluntness. So read this statement. He had problems in the past, but he is stabilized now. Sounds good? Very positive. How it turns into bluntness? Same thing. He is stable now, but he had problems in his past. You know that? How the attitude has changed, the connotation has changed just by rearranging. It appears to be just the rearrangement of the grammar of this statement, but the entire meaning has changed. The message which has to be conveyed has changed. Just like I was introduced before the talk, and very kindly my friend was introducing me. Imagine if he would have introduced me like this. So we have tonight our speaker Shikshashtakam Das, and he was in the Air Force, and he had been selected as a fighter pilot, and he was a tennis champion, this and that, and he has been traveling for so many years worldwide, giving all these seminars, like blah blah blah, all of that, and then comma. But in his childhood, अंगूठा बहुत चूसता था ये, और 12-13 घंटे मस्त सो लेता है ये दिन में, कभी कभी सेल फोन वगैरह भी चुरा लेता है लोगों के। तो आज का सेमिनार देने वाले हैं ये, आप लोग ध्यान से सुनिएगा। नाउ ड्यूरिंग द होल सेमिनार व्हाट विल यू बी थिंकिंग? सबसे पहले तो सेल फोन संभालें। So therefore, when it comes to frankness and bluntness, there is a very thin line. If you have deposited enough in that relationship with the other person, just like in a bank, you cannot withdraw if you haven't deposited. कुछ डिपॉजिट ही नहीं किया है और विड्रॉल स्लिप पे लिख दिया 1 लाख रुपए, वो बोला भैया तुम्हारे अकाउंट में ही नहीं है. सो देयरफॉर द इमोशनल relationship bank account means the more you deposit, the more you can withdraw also. First you have to deposit. With this, we come to the fifth, which will be our final jewel for tonight. Sensitivity versus judgmentality. Now, in Hindi there is a word called Vedana. Vedana means pain. And there is a word called Samvedana. Samvedana means sensitivity or compassion. So one who has underwent Vedana will have Samvedana. Just like I never knew what is the pain of kidney stone. मुझे नहीं पता था. But first time when I got kidney stone pain, earlier I used to wonder, इतना क्या चिल्लाना, इतना सा पत्थर तो बाहर निकल रहा है. And sometimes you know the silly stone, this small, इसमें इतना पेन, सब लोग बोलते हैं क्या पेन होता है, excruciating pain. I don't know how many of you have underwent kidney stone pain. Anyone over here? So very few. So others you might be wondering क्या इसमें इतना क्या hue and cry करना उसको. But those who have undergone, उनके अंदर वो संवेदना होगी दूसरे के लिए. हाँ भैया तेरे को किडनी स्टोन हुआ, मेरी सहानुभूति है तुम्हारे प्रति. witty. So, like they say, I stopped complaining for new shoes when I saw someone without feet. That's called learning to be sensitive. So I'm going to show you two videos over here, and let's see how we can relate to this aspect of sensitivity. Sound?
रिया, रिया,
Hi, you've reached the Mathurs. Please drop a message after the beep.
ये सब क्या है?
तुम रोज ऑफिस से आके मुझसे पूछते हो ना कि मैंने पूरे दिन किया क्या,
हाँ,
तो वो आज मैंने नहीं किया।
हम समझते हैं कि आप दिन भर कुछ नहीं करते हुए भी सब कुछ कर जाती हैं।
Hare Krishna. The point is, sometimes if we are in a unit of relationship, try to put yourself in the other person's shoes. The first video you saw, everyone is going through something. Everyone has a saga in his or her life. They have volumes and volumes to be written and told what they are going through. So sometimes if we exchange roles, like over here, so understand the helpless situation of your partner to be in their shoes, at least for some time. When Draupadi in the Mahabharata, when her 5 sons were brutally massacred by Ashwathama, and that was after the war, and it was not on the battlefield, they were sleeping. When Ashwathama, out of revenge, out of that hatred, he went and he knew that they were the little 5 sons of Draupadi. He massacred, butchered them, beheaded them. But when he was brought in front of Draupadi, Draupadi forgave. Why? She said that as far as I am concerned, yes, I have lost my 5 sons, but I have my husbands. But if Ashwathama is killed, his father is killed already, he's been killed in the battlefield. And Ashwathama's mother, her name was Kripi, was married to Dronacharya, the sister of Kripacharya, married to Dronacharya. She said that she will lose, she has already lost her husband, she will lose the son also. That is called sensitivity to the max. Here, the criminal, the killer of her 5 sons is in front. And yes, Arjun and Bhim all were ready for Draupadi to just give an indication, and Ashwathama would have been massacred like anything by these 2 warriors. But Draupadi was sensitive to whom? To the mother of Ashwathama, wife of Dronacharya, Kripi. So therefore, when we talk of judgmentality, being judgmental, there is a term which often is used in the parlance. It's called ascription error. What is ascription error? When someone else oversleeps, he or she is called by us as a lazy bum. When I oversleep, I was tired. So we ascribe all of these things to someone else. When someone else overeats, that person is called a glutton. Or in Maharashtra, haurat. But when I do it, I'm a connoisseur of food. I was hungry. That's my good appetite. So this is called ascribing our errors on someone else. Like, one of my friends was once telling me that he was writing a very important, he was typing for a new book which he was writing. And he was very much wanting, to focus on what he was writing. And in the adjacent room, there was another colleague of his who was talking very loudly, which was not required, very loudly, like unnaturally loudly. So he was getting very irritated. So he went and he saw that he's talking to someone sitting so close. Why is he shouting so loudly? Later on, he found out that the person whom he was talking to had lost his hearing aids. And therefore he had to tell him something very important as far as his prescription and what medicines he has to take. So therefore he was speaking loudly and he begged forgiveness. Sorry, I was speaking so loudly, but it was for a reason. So before knowing that, what was he doing? He was passing judgments. That's what he said, that he was being judgmental, ascription error. So therefore, when it comes to right and wrong is contextual, it is not categorical. What might be right for you at this time might be wrong for someone else exactly at this time. Like for example, in a family, two sons. One son always scores 90% and the other son barely 35%. And one particular year, both the sons get 60%. So the father, to one son who used to barely pass, he says, Shabash bete, 60%. Hurry. And the other son, Badmash, 60%. Now the third party who is seeing this, what is this? दोनों को 60% मिला है. एक को शाबाशी, एक को शाबाश, दूसरे को बदमाश. Because right and wrong is not categorical, it is contextual. And therefore, when we are talking of these two different traits, we have to understand that being sensitive again is having the flip side of one becoming judgmental about the other person. Therefore, to conclude with, sensitivity towards your spouse is like gifting a bottle of perfume. It might look like enigmatic, this statement. Not because the spouse might be having bad odor in the body, therefore you are gifting perfume bottle. The point over here is, when you give out sensitivity, just like if you give out perfume bottle to your spouse, who is going to enjoy the fragrance more? The person who is gifted, na? Who enjoys the perfume's fragrance more? Always the other person, not the person who has put the perfume on oneself. The other person enjoys more the perfume. That is what sensitivity does to you. If you spread sensitivity to the other person, that fragrance of sensitivity is enjoyed more by you. It comes back to you in a more fragrant way. इसलिए हम बचपन में वो गीत गाते थे ना, किसी की मुस्कुराहटों पे हो निसार, किसी का दर्द हो सके तो ले उठा, इसी को जीना कहते हैं. So therefore, when we in a relationship as a human being, when we try to follow these jewels which we have discussed tonight, we have come only till how many? 5 jewels. And these jewels are the jewels which are supposed to ornament our relationship life. And the more we are ornamented with these jewels, the more we will find that this relationship will become more and more beautiful, not just beautiful, joyful, not just joyful, but also useful. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. So we have some time, that's the reason I tried to wrap up early. Otherwise, each of these points we could go on more in depth in our discussion. So anyone has any clarifications, any questions, in regards to whatever we discussed or anything in connection with this topic which we have undertaken, how to handle relationships. So in case if you want to ask publicly, you can raise your hand, we can pass around the mic. Or if you don't want to ask publicly, if you want to ask privately, I'll be here available. We'll be having a short kirtan, there will be darshan of the Lord for 5 minutes, and we'll be having a short kirtan. So anyone has any questions, want to ask about the topic which we discussed? Hope you understood whatever we spoke. Because in 2 cases there are no questions. One case is कुछ समझ में नहीं सब ऊपर से गया, and the other is when you agree with the speaker. Yes, you have some question. You can wait for the mic. Yeah.
So we spoke about accepting, right? Accepting each other, the way a person is. But to what level do you accept the person? I mean to say, maybe someone's bad behavior could be someone's wrong way of doing things. So to what level can you, do you just keep accepting all the time, or do you do something about it?
Yeah, see, that depends on what is the intensity of the relationship, how much one has deposited in that relationship, what is the closeness of 2 people in that relationship. Just for example, like mother and child, if we begin with that example. So if the child is mischievous and naughty, sometimes the mother has to accept, okay, my child is having, like some children are by nature, very calm, composed. Some children by nature, by birth, they are hyper. So if it is reaching dangerous levels for the child and for others who are associating with that child, then of course the mother has to put the foot down and make the child realize that this is something which will not be accepted. But the consciousness is, the mood is to help the child. So the undercurrent of that principle of art of acceptance is what is beneficial for the relationship, what is beneficial for the other person. If non-acceptance is beneficial for the other person, then yes, that has to be accepted. Non-acceptance has to be accepted. And if acceptance, which might, that, okay, that person has this nature, that person has a particular way of living, way of speaking, way of doing things. So therefore, I always use this term, there is something called preferences and principles. Many times, people might have different preferences, but you have to focus on the principles. Just like, for example, say, a child prefers to read sitting on the bed or lying down on the bed. Some children, they do that. Even in my childhood, I used to sometimes, read my, school books on the bed. So that's a preference. What is the principle? I should get the subject within me. That's the principle. Now, whether I sit on a chair with a dining table and a table lamp and like all that entire setup of studying, if doing that and not getting the subject within me, I'm losing on the principle. The preference might be all very much in line or maybe in sync with studying that book, but I'm losing on the principle. So many times in life, some of our people, family members, they might have certain preferences which we might not prefer. The way they eat, what they eat, the way they talk, the way they dress, the way, it's called the idiosyncrasies which they might have. But then you have to look into the principle. If the principle is getting accomplished, preferences might vary. So, agreeing to disagree, like it's always said, and also accepting till the point it is not crossing the dangerous limits. Once it's crossing that, then you have to put your foot down and, in the interest of the other person, rectify it. Is that clear?
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
As you told, sir, that we should be tolerant. But if we'll be tolerant, the people will take us as granted. So what is the measure level? And what are the situations in which we should be tolerant and not tolerant?
Good question. See, when I am speaking about tolerance, tolerance again is something which we have to cultivate to make ourselves into a better person, make ourselves into a seasoned person. Again, like I was answering to that question, that if your tolerance is creating more, thugs and crooks in the society, then the police department, is not supposed to be tolerant. The police department is supposed to be intolerant, like Bhagavad Gita. Now, if you see in the Mahabharata, Pandavas were tolerating Duryodhan's all, mischief. When Duryodhan poisoned Bhima, in the childhood, Yudhishthir Maharaj said, tolerate. Because it's a family matter, we don't want to bring it out. So Yudhishthir Maharaj told Bhima to tolerate. Further, when Duryodhan, he kicked out the Pandavas and sent them to forest for 13 years. And after that, Krishna, he came and he said, okay, let's compromise. You're not willing to give back the kingdom, despite you sending them into the forest for 13 years, you're still not willing to give back the kingdom. Give them 5 villages. So that was the next stage, compromise. But then when Draupadi was, insulted, then Krishna said, this is enough. Now there has to be war. This cannot be tolerated. So therefore, there is, it's very subjective. So yes, it's a very valid point which you raised, that if people are taking undue advantage of your tolerance, and because of that, the people around you and the social structure around you is getting affected negatively, then in the interest of the society, in the interest of people around you, you have to take due action. Just like how, the police department, they have to take strict action against, they show their so-called intolerance in order to catch the criminals. Yeah?
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Can you speak on the mic?
See, same situation or same behavior that their family members, if they take in the different people take in the different sense. Like that story, that drunkard father had 2 sons, and after they grew up, one became a drunkard, one became a very big businessman. When they were asked what was the secret, both said, my father was the inspiration. So they took both of them took in a different way. So how the drunkard said, my father was drinking, so I am also drinking. I took that habit from him. And the fellow who was successful, he said, I had seen the...
So because they both saw the same situation, but they both had a very different approach. One took it as an inspiration not to do, and the other took an inspiration that this is what I am supposed to do. So again, it's very subjective that the same situation, how we were talking about attitude, that how your attitude, what your upbringing is, and the way you look at life, and the same thing, the same object, the same situation, the same place, if you have the right approach, the right outlook, Krishna gave Arjun a different outlook, what he was perceiving the Kuru Sena before hearing the Bhagavad Gita and after hearing the Bhagavad Gita. So this is what we are trying to do in these kind of sessions. What we are trying to do, the same relationship, you have to go back now and see the same relationship with a different outlook. That's what I'm hoping, that's what I'm expecting. And if that helps build up your relationship, make it more healthy, that's what we have to do as human beings. Yeah, change the outlook. So at this point of time, because we are approaching 10 o'clock, so we'll have that 5-minute kirtan, if you are okay with that, and then we can part for dinner. And tomorrow we propose to start at 7:30 sharp. So if you are, because today was the first day and registrations and all that, so tomorrow if you can come at 7:30 sharp, so we can start, and we'll have more time for question answers. So we'll take your question tomorrow. Yeah, it's okay? Once again, thank you all very much. See you all tomorrow. Hare Krishna.